Okay, so this article is really very important because our Prime Minister has asked to debate on the issue of simultaneous elections, and the article is divided basically into three parts. The first one is who is, giving the pros of the simultaneous elections. The other one is saying the cons of simultaneous elections, and the third category is, he's saying that it's a complex phenomena. Okay, having both pros and cons. So the thing is, okay, let's just start. Okay, so the thing is that he's saying that Bhupendra Yadav, he's saying that okay, yes, India should have simultaneous elections because they will ensure consistency, continuity, and governance, which are integral to democracy. Means he is of the opinion that in order to strengthen our democracy, we need to ensure that we are having a stable governance, and stable governance can be ensured only with the simultaneous elections. Okay, so he's saying that to achieve all these things, I mean consistency, continuity, and governance, our constitution, it this in framed this body, election commission, to hold the elections. Okay, because elections elections, you can say it's the tool to maintain the democratic character of the of our country. But what happens, because we are having all the year round elections. Okay, elections are there all the year round. First of all, we are having Lok Sabha elections, and we are having state assembly elections, and at the 3 tier level. So because of this, what happens is that elections, they are not restricted to their uses as the tool, but now elections, they have become an end for the people and for the political parties. Okay, and so the thing in these lines, they're saying this, that elections, they have become end for the political parties and has not restricted to its character of being a tool. So implementing simultaneous polls would require a substantial shift from the status quo and would involve amendments to the constitution and election related laws. So he's saying that obviously it's quite a radical step, that we need to move from our status quoist approach. We have to change what is right now at present. Certain amendments needs to be made in constitution and related to the laws which are related to elections. But so because all these changes are required, so does it mean that we should not think of the simultaneous elections? He's saying certainly not. Okay, we need to have these kind of changes because it's for a good cause. Okay, so why good cause? Because he's saying that it will strengthen the democracy. Okay, so he's saying that earlier we were having different kind of points for tax collections, different sorts of indirect taxes, but we somehow merged them and formed a GST, and we can see that how GST is quite effective. So in this way, obviously we need to make this kind of changes and amendments with respect to elections as well. Okay, next is saying that, see, the stumbling block in the current system of holding elections. Okay, he's saying, okay, we'll look at that what are the stumbling blocks right now in the election system. So he's saying the major issue is this, the enforcement of model code of conduct. Because when before elections, when model code of conduct is there, then parties, they cannot make any radical a policy decision. They cannot make transfers of of the officials. So no major radical policy decision can be taken during this model code of conduct. Okay, so he is saying that because of this model code of conduct, what happens that we are preoccupied with the local body elections or either with the assembly elections throughout the year. So we don't have that time for development. Okay, because we are always engaged in one or the other election. So the main goal, which is development, it somehow is ignored. Okay, so this is system therefore must be evolved to give a period of 5 years to the incumbent government to focus on governments. So he's saying that a stabilized period of 5 years should be given to the government so that they can focus only on the issues which are related to governance and not related to elections. Okay, next they are saying that the first thing is that simultaneous elections will strengthen democracy. Second thing, it's saying that it will curb corruption as well, because see, it will build a more conducive socio-economic system. Okay, how we are going to see now. See, he's saying that because of elections, see, elections, they are a conduit for black money and corruption, because most of the black money and the money which is earned because out of corruption, it is used in elections to fund the political parties, okay, or to mobilize the people in one way or the other. So this way corruption is also there, okay, and this provide opportunities to unscrupulous elements to create tears in the social fabric of society as well. And because election is there in one or the other period of the time of the year, so what happens is this gives ample opportunities to the fringe elements to divide the society. Fine. So this division in the society and this corruption, this is all because we are not having simultaneous elections. Okay, then other problem is that because we are having elections all the year round, then our administrative machinery is all time engaged in that purpose only. Okay, and obviously the expenses incurred in holding elections all the year round definitely are more high. So a huge burden is there on the resources, and we know that India is a resource crunch country. Okay, so this is also an issue that apart from corruption, this administrative machinery and the expenses, they can also be somewhat better utilized if we will be having simultaneous elections. Next, in the last, he's saying that holding simultaneous elections are not merely about elections. Okay, it's for about stable governance. So he's saying, agar aap means if you want to create a kind of flow chart, so you can say that if we are having elections, then we'll be having stable governance. If we are having stable governance, we'll be having ample time to focus on the developmental issues. Okay, so this is the basic idea, that is simultaneous elections to stable governance, and stable governance will strengthen our democracy and we will have more time to focus on developmental issues. So this was that why we should have simultaneous elections. Okay, now next is that why we should not have simultaneous elections, and we are having views of Suhas Palshikhar, and he's saying that it will disdain the parliamentary system and the federal arrangement. Okay, let's look. So according to him, in see sorry, according, oh my god, according to him, till 1967, see, till 1967 we were having one party dominant system, and that party was Congress. Okay, the same party was at the center and the same party was at the states, except Kerala where we were having Communist Party. So what happens that so it was very easy to have simultaneous elections till 1967 because the same party was ruling at the center and the same party at the state. So even if the party at the center, it loses its majority somehow, then it was not difficult for the center to assure or to make the states understand that now we have to conduct a midterm election because the center has lost the majority. So there was a kind of cooperation between the center and the states because both the governments, they belong to the same party. But because as soon as the regional parties after 1967 they came into picture, and we saw slowly and gradually we saw the emergence of coalition politics. So soon after 1967 we left this whole concept of simultaneous elections because definitely it was not feasible. Okay, it was having practical problems. So we left it. Now the thing is, he's saying that coalition politics has brought stability and added to the vibrancy of the democracy and ensured an active role for state parties and greater power sharing among parties. So coalition politics have actually strengthened the democracy in one way or the other, according to him. So of course, the electoral cycle became staggered and has remains okay. Now this is not important. Next is he's saying regarding the question of burden. Okay, see, he's saying that you are saying that the political parties, they are all the year round engaged in one or the other elections. So he's saying that this is, this is a feature of democratic society. Okay, democratic politics has a tendency to be chaotic, but there are limits to the corrective abilities of formal legal provisions. He's saying that, see, chaos is one of the feature of a democratic polity. Okay, there has to be certain sort of chaos. There cannot be always smoothness cannot be there, because if smoothness is there, that means no strong opposition is there. Okay, so chaos will be there, and at the same time there are limits to the corrective abilities, means up to what extent you can correct that thing. A limit is there on that also. So altogether you cannot say that we will have the simultaneous elections and the problem will be solved. Okay, and it quite seems good and feasible on the paper, but it has a lot of practical problems. Okay, so he's saying that even if elections were to take simultaneously, parties contesting in only one state would anyway be similarly burdened. He's saying that those regional parties who don't have anything with the center, means with the national politics, okay, they have to be they have to be involved in this entire election campaign only once, even if there is a Lok Sabha elections or there is assembly elections. So of course those parties are not altogether burdened. So that means that you are talking, if you are favoring simultaneous elections, then you are talking only in the context of the national parties, because it's the national parties who basically have to worry about that. We have to do election campaigning in states as well, then for Lok Sabha elections as well. Okay, so the one thing is this. Next he is saying that, and as for the electoral machinery, why do we have a lengthy schedule? Means, if you want to cut down the time period of the elections, and if you are saying that we are having elections all the year round, so the problem is not because we are not having simultaneous election. The problem is because we are having a lengthy schedule of elections. Okay, and the thing is that the lengthy schedule of elections is not, it's not like we are wanting it, or we have deliberately kept lengthy schedule. The thing is that we don't have that much logistics capability. Fine. This conducting of an election requires not only infrastructure, but the personnel as well. Personnel needs to be there on duty, then forces needs to be there. Okay, so all these things are required apart from logistics and all. So we don't have that much right now available with us. So this particular constraint would also be there even if we are having simultaneous elections. So what is the benefit of holding elections simultaneously? Okay, next is he's saying the problem regarding because earlier we said that we are having code of conduct, model code of conduct, and because of which we cannot focus on the development issues and we have a sort of policy paralysis. So he's saying regarding code of conduct, the problem is that we don't have consensus regarding what all we can do in code of conduct and what all we cannot do. So the problem is there. The problem is not with the code of conduct. Okay, next he's saying that the power of the legislature would be curtailed if we are having simultaneous elections, because see, if let us consider, for example, in a state assembly there is a party ruling. Now if the state assembly, the legislature don't want or don't have confidence within that party, then they can pass the no confidence motion. Fine, but what happens if we are having simultaneous elections? You are curtailing that power of legislatures, because you are fixing a term of cycle for Lok Sabha and state elections. Unless and until that term is completed, the term of 5 years is completed, no confidence motion cannot be passed, because that term is to be completed. So this this no confidence motion and the power of this legislature, this is something which is which is a feature of a parliamentary democracy. And if we are curtailing it, then definitely we are disdaining our parliamentary democracy. Okay. So next is penalizing the states. Penalizing the states means that if you are having simultaneous elections, then what will happen, that if by chance any of the state loses majority, then there will be whatever the next government will be there, it will either be having the truncated time period left, okay, and otherwise either this or the president rule can be there. Only two options will be there, because next elections will only be there only when the there will be elections at the center. What all I am trying to say is that even if any state wants midterm elections, then that state cannot have that election, because the other states and at the national level these elections are not taking place. So only when elections at national level and in other states will take place, only then that state can have its elections. So the only option left with that state is what, the truncated time period or the president rule. So I mean, this is somewhat penalizing the states. Okay, so he's saying that this entire concept of simultaneous elections, it's like a grand theory, okay, which is good in design, but it's uncertain. The outcome is uncertain, and the dubious intentions are also dubious according to him. Okay, now so this was like why we should not have simultaneous elections. So in short, we can say that it will somehow curtail the power of the legislature regarding no confidence motion, and secondly it will penalize the states, and it will be a disdain for the parliamentary system and the federal arrangement. Now next is a former chief election commissioner's views, and he's saying that it's quite complicated, and he's saying very good lines, that see, holding simultaneous elections is certainly desirable. We do want it, because definitely they are having pros, but it's not feasible. Okay, it's having practical limitations. The problem is that we need some sort of political consensus on it, which is not easy to achieve. Okay, and the thing is that why we should have simultaneous elections, because of the excessive expenditure and the repetitive this dislocation of administrative machinery on election duty all the year round. So he's seeing two major reasons. The first is the huge expenditure, and second is that our administrative machinery is conducting elections all the year round. Okay, so these are two things that, and because of which we can say that yes, a simultaneous election should be there. Okay, and another reason is also there. These two. Third is this, that elections have unfortunately become the root cause of corruption. Okay, because when we are in constant mode of election, we are also in permanent corruption mode. Because what happens, I mean, a party who is conducting at the national and at the state level, after national level elections, the workers of that party or that party, it will be involved in like how to have more funding, because we have to conduct the election at the state level also. Okay, and similarly the donors, they will also somehow look for new ways that where they can this which I mean where they can fund the party, so that their black money and their money earned because of corruption can be spent. So the entire process of election has now become a very easy home for easy ground, fertile ground for breeding corruption. So this is also reason. So the way out is to cut the role play by money in elections. Let's say, like, if we have to counter it, we can say that, we can bring electoral reforms in that. Either we can have, and he's also saying that either we can have a ceiling on the political party expenditure, or we can have state funding of elections. We have discussed state funding of elections already in previous articles. Okay, so these two alternatives can also be there apart from the simultaneous elections. Besides, elections have to be, as the Bhupendra Yadav was saying, that election, they actually divide the society. So similarly, he's saying that elections have become too divisive. Communal rights and caste disturbances, they are deliberately created around election time to ensure polarization of communities for electoral gains, just to mobilize people. They try to give each and every little bit of fight now as communal color. Okay, so this is also the reason that, I mean, this is this is the reason that why we should have simultaneous elections. Okay, next, but so these were all pros, because he's saying it's a complicated process. So he's also telling us the cons. He's saying the spirit of federalism, but he's saying that this idea of simultaneous election is against the spirit of the constitution and spirit of federalism, because there is a practical difficulty associated with it. Because what if a government, it loses majority in the Lok Sabha? Fine, then we will, if a government at the national level loses majority, then we have to conduct elections in all the 29 states, even if those states are having absolute majority. So the issue is that why should the states suffer for the electoral decisions taken at the center? Okay, and another issue which is very important is that national and local issues are different, and holding simultaneous elections is likely to blur the judgment, because it may be the case that many a times when people are voting, they may subordinate the national agenda just for their state priorities. Okay, so a blurriness will be there between the national and the state issues. Okay, so this is also, it's one of the most important problem with the simultaneous elections. Now, and the good thing about having elections all the year round is that these legislators, they are on their toes and increases accountability. I mean, when they know that we are having all the year round elections are there. After national, we are having this state assembly elections, then we are having municipal corporation, and all these kind of elections are there. Then these party workers and this politicians, they try to remain in touch with the people. Okay, but what happens if we are having simultaneous elections? Then they will be knowing that, okay, that the term is fixed for the state and the national level elections also. We just have to go after 5 years. Okay, so after 5 years, what the hell is going on for the entire year, they will be least bothered about it. Okay, so this is also an issue. Now, apart from that, he is saying regarding this casting simultaneous votes, and the point which was given by Suhas Palshikar regarding logistics. He's saying, see, it's not very difficult, because a person, if he's coming in a polling booth, then he can cast 7 votes at a time as well. So it will not be difficult to cast 2 to 3 votes at a time for a person. And regarding logistics, the same amount of logistics it's to be used at the national level elections and at the state level elections. But I personally don't feel that it will be very easy to have the same kind of logistics arrangement at the national level and at the state level elections if they are conducting simultaneously. Anyway, but okay, so he's saying that feasibility is not a issue. Okay, and there is apart from this, the apprehension regarding simultaneous election is that there is, if there is a majoritarian government at the center, then there will be very little chances of anti-incumbency in the states. Okay, see, the thing is that if we are having a party with absolute majority at the center, so if simultaneous elections are going to be there, so definitely there will be some sort of impressions or some sort of you can say mindset of people to vote for the party which is at the center. Okay, so the altogether who will be at loss, the regional and the state parties. Okay, so this is also an issue. So this is the issue, and he's saying that, as he has suggested here, that the ceiling should be there and state funding of election should be there if we are not having simultaneous elections. He's saying that the problem with this huge expenditure and this lot of time of administrative machinery spent in conducting elections, so the solution can also be that we need to cut down the time which is we are having right now in the entire election process, because it's quite lengthy. And what we can do, we need to increase the central armed police forces 5 times more than what is provided to the commission right now. And because more forces will be there, so it will be very easy to conduct election within a short span of time. So this is also a suggestions if we are not going for the simultaneous elections. Okay, if the answer comes, you can write that right now it's not feasible to hold the elections, because we are certainly we lack not only on the resources side, but we lack on the logistics and other sides as well. And people are also not ready, because sometimes the national agenda, it can be hijacked or it can be subordinated to the regional priorities. So but definitely in the long run, we need to have this simultaneous elections. This article was really very important. Thank you.